It's time to talk about the finale and the fallout of the Mae Young Classic. What's going on, everybody? It's your buddy, it's your pal Spaz, Phoenix, the YWC Reality Check, with the last review of the Mae Young Classic 2017. So cheers, guys. This is the last video you're going to get in this series unless they decide to do it again next year, which I really hope they do. Now, here's the problem. The finale of the Mae Young Classic is one match, and much like OKFabe said in his review, which I encourage you to go check out youtube.com/OKFabe, because he puts out some good shit. But he made an excellent point. It's really rare and really awkward that we would come up here and do a whole review on just one match. Now, when I did the preliminaries of the Mae Young Classic, the one that was on YouTube, the one that was on NXT, I was doing it as sort of a sampling. I was doing it as sort of a, hey, this is what we have to look forward to type thing. And unfortunately, Bianca Belair with her freaking ridiculous hair whip gimmick was in one of those, so how excited could we really be? But after Raw this week, and most people didn't even know about this, which I thought was really cool, they did do an exhibition match after Raw to get you interested in the Mae Young Classic finale, which is bad because it was on the WWE Network, and if you have the WWE Network, you've had every opportunity to watch the Mae Young Classic, and if you weren't interested before, you're not going to be interested now. But it started up after Raw, lots and lots of recaps, and it wasn't commentated by JR and Lita, which I found interesting. It was commentated by Tom Phillips, Nigel McGuinness, and Beth Phoenix, which, and I mean, I didn't expect to see Beth Phoenix on commentary. She didn't do that terrible. It again, was only one match. It was a 6-woman tag between Santana Garrett, Sarah Logan, and Marty Bell versus Tessa Blanchard, Jazzy Gabbert, and Kaylee Ray. It was a good showcase. I don't want to say it was a great showcase, but it was a good enough showcase. It's what you could expect from a 6-person tag with no story behind it, really. Everybody kind of getting their shit in. I come out of it thinking, I want to see more Marty Bell. I want to see more Sarah Logan, which isn't surprising to anybody, and I definitely want to see more Kaylee Ray. But the favorite in the Full Sail arena there was definitely Jazzy Gabbert, and Jazzy Gabbert was certainly the focus of this match because she basically went in there and plowed everybody. Fans were chanting, please sign Jazzy all match, including when she won with the Alpha Slam, which was impressive. I like Jazzy Gabbert, don't get me wrong. She's very different. She's very impressive. She's very, like, not like anybody else on the roster, for sure. She does have those little hints of a China type character. I know in the indies her nickname's like, or either her name or her nickname is the Alpha Female, and they kept on really lightly hinting on that in the whole match to the point where it was a little on the nose. But she gets the win. She's happy as hell. For somebody as scary as she looked genuinely happy to be in the ring and be there for more than one match because she was out in the first round. Now, I say that the Full Sail crowd, the NXT crowd, if you will, were doing the please sign Jazzy chants, and it does harken back to the CWC when they were chanting please sign Cedric. I really wish that had worked better off in his favor, because the fact that he's not in the title picture right now is kind of bizarre. I mean, I find the Enzo shit hilarious, don't get me wrong, and the Enzo shit with The Miz and the Enzo shit with Neville the past couple of weeks has been hilarious, but Cedric should be the champion right now. That's just a thing. But Triple H comes out, and he sort of comes out to give the address from his point as one of the people that put it together. He came out to give his address to the crowd, and it's kind of a bittersweet thing because, as I'm going to talk about in a second, the finale was live in Vegas. So the last thing that the Full Sail crowd saw was a 6-person tag, which wasn't bad, but ultimately didn't mean anything, and then a speech from Triple H. And Triple H is good. Triple H will get you up out of your seat and excited about stuff, but it really, I think with the decision that they made here, they really fucking blueballed the Full Sail crowd, which I don't think is cool at all. But he came out and he acknowledged the please sign Jazzy chants immediately, and he laughed it off. He said, you know, you guys did this during the CWC and it ended up costing me a lot of money. I don't know whether that's a dig at Cedric Alexander or a compliment, but it is what it is. He talks a lot about what the Mae Young Classic means and how men have always been able to look towards WWE and see the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow and all that shit. Women wanted to as well, but there was no gold at the end of the rainbow. You guys have proven that there is gold at the end of the rainbow, and it's you, and it's your support, and rah. And he thanks the fans, and he says a quote that he said later on in a press conference as well. And it's that ultimately his hope is that 10 years from now, he's going to sign some girl who can say that her motivational moment, the thing that made her want to be a female wrestler, was watching the Mae Young Classic, which very well could be true, only if the people that came out of the Mae Young Classic get treated properly. And once again, I say look towards the guys that came out of the CWC. TJ Perkins won that, and what do we think of him right now? But I will say, Triple H, for all the criticism people might want to give him, really genuine sounding, rousing speech to the crowd, genuinely thanking the crowd. You can tell, I mean, he was into the CWC, he was into the UK tournament, but you can tell him and Stephanie, and I don't know whether Sarah is going by Sarah Amato or Sarah Del Rey, so if I ever hesitate when I say her name, that's why. But you can tell the three of them collectively, and everybody else involved in this, were genuinely sort of heartfelt in it, because yeah, you can have a UK tournament, but the popularity of UK wrestling already exists. You can have a Cruiserweight Classic and reintroduce the Cruiserweight Championship, but ultimately that's something that did exist before. No spotlight this bright has existed on the grand stage of WWE until now. Now I know there's all-female wrestling companies out there. I know there's Shimmer and Shine, and I know ROH has their Women of Honor brand, and that's great. That's wonderful. Don't get me wrong. I don't watch them. I can't speak to them intelligently because I don't watch them. But I know that they're out there, and I know that that's particularly great. If you want to watch an all-female wrestling league, go the hell for it. I mean, if WWE wanted to shed some more light on them, they have. In a lot of the promo packages for a lot of these girls, there was a lot of footage from Shimmer, and so I gotta believe that they've got some kind of deal there that's mutually beneficial. Hey, give us some of your talent, we'll give you a little bit of a spotlight type of thing. But nothing under the banner of WWE has given women specifically the spotlight and the sole purpose of a show like the Mae Young Classic has, and I think that's great. I've always said, you know, not every woman that steps into the WWE is fantastic. Not everyone, you know, deserves to be, you know, main event stature. But like with they did the Divas Revolution that became the Women's Evolution and all that sort of thing, and we started letting them sort of go at it. Pulled away from the Barbie doll thing a little bit, went more with the women that can actually wrestle. What a concept. I personally love it, because there's certain things that you get in women's wrestling that guys just can't do, and if you're talking to somebody that doesn't admit that, they're just insecure in their own skin. Let's be real for a second. But this preamble, this sort of exhibition match, if you will, should have been saved for the main finale. And I'm going to tell you why, because I'm going to give you a couple little bullet points what I found wrong with the way that they did the finale this time. First of all, I'm going to say it one more time, because this is the last chance I'm going to have a chance to say it. WWE putting all this shit out in 2 weeks in Netflix format was fucking retarded. Because there's already 3 hours of Raw, 2 hours of SmackDown, 1 hour of NXT a week, plus there was a pay-per-view somewhere in the middle there, giving us an additional 4 hours for 2 weeks in a row to watch and digest and have watched by the time this finale was on was retarded. I mean, I know they're probably trying to stick it to people like me, people like us here in this community that are going to try and review it all because they're just going to give us too much of a good thing. And we're not going to be able to review it all, so therefore their critics are going to be stifled somewhat. I genuinely do believe that's part of their reasoning for doing the Netflix style. It's like, okay, we'll give it to them all at once, and they won't be able to review it, they won't be able to talk about it, and they won't be able to shit on it if they're going to shit on it, and they won't be able to podcast on it. That's a fucking retarded move, and I have to believe that's a Vince move, or a Kevin Dunn move. This show should not have been a one-match show. I'm taking everything I'm going to say here, take nothing away from the match. Zero. Because everything I'm saying right now is everything but the match, so I want to be clear about that. But it should have been like the CWC was. If you remember the CWC, you had the semifinal match, the second semifinal match, you had an exhibition tag match. I want to say it was Cedric and Rich Swann versus the Bollywood Boys, but I could be wrong. And then you had the finals. That was enough to fill an hour. That was enough to fill a show. This was, you know, tune in after SmackDown because there's going to be a match. Second of all, it should have been at Full Sail, so the whole like after SmackDown wouldn't have necessarily been an issue. I would have rather seen this after NXT, have 1 solid hour of NXT and 1 solid hour of all the pomp and circumstance of the Mae Young Classic finale. It should have been, because in the big arena, it just looked strange, and you had more casual wrestling fans, and more likely to have people that weren't following the whole thing, more likely to have people that weren't invested in it, weren't involved in it, didn't know who the fuck these people in the ring were, which leads to my third point, and this definitely suffered from 205 Live syndrome. 205 Live is failing for a lot of reasons, but one of the main reasons that it's failing is because you plop it in after SmackDown, when the show that people are there to see is over. They've seen the main event. Why are they going to stick around for a little bit extra? And if you're a common casual viewer that just watches Raw on Monday, SmackDown on Tuesday, and, you know, flips off the USA Network or Sportsnet 360 until next Monday, you don't know who the people in the Mae Young Classic are. You don't know what got them here. You don't know any of that shit. So if you fed this to pretty much just your WWE Network audience, and then you put it in the arena where the general crowd is, where the casual fans are, you don't really give them a reason to care, and you've set up these girls to fail, because the crowd that they've been winning over throughout this tournament, who have had their backs the whole time, and let's be real, the type of people that are going to follow a tournament like this are the types of people that watch NXT, are the types of people that are going to have the WWE Network. So it was really, really bad in so many levels. And here's the thing, not that it matters for this, but you would have figured that if they were going to put it in this time slot, that I don't agree with whatsoever, they would have at least said, okay, scrap 205 Live, we're just going to devote that 205 Live hour to the Mae Young Classic. No, they did this, and then went on and did 205 Live. I feel bad for the guys in 205 Live who scrape and claw to get anybody to give a shit anyway. I feel bad for anybody in that arena that stayed through dark matches, 2 hours of SmackDown, which was a pretty decent SmackDown, actually. The Mae Young Classic, which they may or may not have cared about, and then stuck around for 205 Live. They've got to be exhausted. You're getting into WrestleMania territory now with that shit. So the structure of this was fucking terrible. And because it was only one match, and because there was nothing to build up to that one match, you had a lot of filler. A lot. You started off with another recap of the whole tournament. You start off with Renee Young sort of being an MC at the top of the rampway type of thing, sort of like you would at an awards show type of deal. But she, as much as I love Renee Young, and you guys know I'm a big fan of Renee Young, I like what she does with the panels and whatnot. I like what she did with Talking Smack with Daniel Bryan. I even liked in her early days when she was doing a bit of commentary on NXT. I thought she was very good, and I wish they would give her another shot at that. Stick her up at the top of the stage with a microphone by herself with nobody else to bounce off of, and she does come off quite awkward, and it's kind of unfortunate. But she comes out and she welcomes everybody, and she throws to a video package of the red carpet that apparently took place on Facebook Live. But they go, basically all the package does is go over all the dignitaries that are in attendance. And I can't help but be a little skeptical and think, yeah, they had to get a lot of dignitaries there because people were probably leaving because SmackDown was over. But you have Triple H, you have Stephanie, you have Sarah Amato, you have Ronda Rousey and her whole group, you have Lana, Charlotte, Bayley, Becky, some of the former tournament members that have already been eliminated. You have the cast of Glow there. Speaking of Netflix, Netflix has that series Glow, which I think is Glorious Women of Wrestling. I don't know, I haven't watched the show, I'll be completely honest, but it was very cool to see them there as well. So, you know, you got a show about wrestling, you got an actual wrestling show, they're coming together, they're supporting each other, whatever. And then she comes out of that, and she just keeps telling us who's there. She starts cutting to people in the crowd, Mauro Ranallo, Beth Phoenix, Alundra Blaze, certain family members of The Rock, and whatever. And then she pans over to Dana Warrior, which I think is really cool, because you know Dana Warrior, you know, she has to do with the Warrior Award. I think she does a lot with their charity ventures and all that sort of thing, which is really cool. Really, really cool to see Dana Warrior, and really cool to see how WWE has embraced her and involved her in sort of their good works and whatever. But it meant that she was there for the fucked up bullshit that Dolph Ziggler had done earlier in the night, and that's a little fucked up, I have to say. Then the last thing Renee does, sorry, my chair is an old chair and doesn't want to sit straight. The last thing that Renee Young does is she throws to Jim Ross and Lita, who are doing the commentary for the evening. I don't care what anybody says, and I said this at the beginning of the second round. Anybody who doesn't like this commentary team can fuck off. Lita, for somebody who's not a commentator at all, did great at this. Jim Ross carried her along. You could tell he was carrying her along. But you knew that was going to happen. And Jim Ross, oh, he's not very exciting anymore. He's not like Mauro Ranallo. Yeah, because he hasn't had 27 cups of cappuccino. I'm sorry. Ranallo is awesome at what he does, but I can't... If I was binge watching the tournament, I would not be. If I had to binge watch the CWC, I would need a break from Mauro Ranallo, because he starts off at 11 and doesn't go anywhere. And it doesn't lend itself well to something that you're binge watching. And plus, Jim Ross is Jim fucking Ross. And if you can get Jim Ross, you get Jim Ross. And yes, I know I said that before, but it's still so fucking true. Goofball from New York, I'm looking at you. Again, we go back to highlight packages. We see both women's individual journeys through the tournament. Whereas before, it was a general overview of the tournament. This is, you know, the tournament from each of their points of view, like who they went to get here and all this sort of thing. And then they get introduced. They come to the ring. And this was also very lackluster because of the big arena. I understand because of the tournament. And they did it with the CWC and they did it with the UK tournament as well. There's no really big entrance type thing. Like, there's no pyro, there's no big elaborate video screens, whatever. There's a screen with your name on it. And I kind of like that for the tournament point of view, because it's like, okay, we're going to present them all in an equal face, and if they earn your fandom, they've earned your fandom by what they pull off in the ring. I like that part of it, but that blandness in the big arena just doesn't translate at all. Counter that, though, with the fact that we've got Lillian Garcia back to announce the competitors in the Mae Young Classic final, and she does an amazing job. She hypes everybody up in the arena. You know, we started out with 32 competitors and now we're down to 2 and all that sort of thing. And Lillian Garcia, because she's not there much anymore and they've got their newer, younger, more updated announcers, which, you know, you can have your own opinions of. You can tell when Lillian Garcia comes back to do something special like this that she loves it, and that makes me happy. I'm not gonna lie. Shayna Baszler versus Kairi Sane. I didn't do a typical play-by-play, like, you guys know how I normally go through the matches, break them down move by move, etc. I didn't do that for this. I really didn't. Even when I watched it through the second time today, I didn't do that. I pulled out a couple of points that I really wanted to talk about, and that's about it. One thing I gotta say about both of them, and I mean, people are judgmental of the fact that Baszler was there and why she might have been there and why it wasn't necessarily somebody else. Trust me, we're going to get to that in a second. But they both played their roles incredibly well. Baszler's there to be the monster. Kairi Sane is there to be the uptight, or sorry, it's the uppity underdog that, you know, has just enough tricks to get around the monster's strength and size and all that sort of thing. Shayna Baszler works on the arm, and it's a great, simple story. What has Kairi Sane won all her matches with? That amazing fucking insane elbow that she does. If she's got a fucked up elbow, she's not going to drop it on you. It's good. Baszler locked in her submission twice in this match. The first time, that big choke with the body scissors, the first time Kairi bounced out of it immediately and almost rolled it up into a pin, which was not something I was expecting. Again, because of the size differential, you would think there would be a power differential, and I thought that was really cool. The second time was more close to the end of the match. But the other story, while Baszler's working on Kairi Sane's arm, there is a slow and steady story about Shayna Baszler's midsection and ribs. And even on commentary, they're very honest about it. We don't know what she's done, but something in her middle is fucked up. Did she break a rib? You know, has she bruised a lung? Whatever. And the story is Kairi Sane just slowly, steadily taking out the midsection of Shayna Baszler. Eventually, she does get, you know, the adrenaline rush she needs to ignore her bad arm. She does hit the insane elbow, and she does get the win. And I'm happy about this. I really am. If they had gone the other way, you could have still gotten Kairi Sane over by the underdog that just fell short of the monster, and she would still have the same crowd. She would still be just as impressive as she was. Kairi Sane getting the win. I mean, obviously the whole pirate princess thing is going to be something they're going to market to the moon, and they should. I mean, this girl, small, athletic as fuck, powerful as hell. The spinning back fist that she does, it should be fucking illegal. It's great. It's not quite as ingenuitive as, you know, hitting somebody with your hair, But, you know, it's there and it's good. Kairi Sane gets the win. There's a lot of respect, and they just sort of draw it out at the end. There's a lot of respect shown to her by Shayna Baszler. You see Ronda Rousey in the crowd, and she looks like she's genuinely about to cry, which is, I gotta believe that that's part of the show. But if Shayna Baszler legitimately didn't tell her friends whether she was going to win or not, then I gotta look at Ronda Rousey and be like, did you watch the tournament? Did you see who the overwhelming babyface was? But that's that. You get Triple H, you got Stephanie, you got Sarah Amato in there presenting the flowers, presenting the trophy, and the fucking trophy's bigger than Kairi Sane is. So it is a thing like that. Where it does fall flat is with both the tournaments we've seen so far, and I didn't like the UK. I liked the wrestling in the UK tournament, but the UK tournament was like, they scraped it together and like, hey, we're hanging out for a weekend. The CWC was great because it was the first tournament of this kind on the WWE Network. But you had the capping moment being, okay, not only did you just win the CWC, but you are now the WWE Cruiserweight Championship because we've just brought it back or whatever. We made the UK tournament not just to highlight how great UK wrestling is, but we're going to create this United Kingdom Championship. Like, this is a thing now. There wasn't anything like that here. There wasn't a belt. There wasn't a physical thing to hand Kairi Sane to take into her life going forward, because we don't need any more women's titles. We've already got 3. We got Raw, we got SmackDown, and we've got NXT, even though NXT is vacant right now. So the big question is, okay, Kairi Sane just won the Mae Young Classic. Now what? And for now what, I don't have my own thoughts anymore. I'm going to skew away from my own thoughts, and I'm going to do something I don't do very often here, and I'm going to pull up some dirt sheets and some internet stuffs. So, quickly, after the Mae Young Classic went off the air, ESPN and WWE.com broke the news from Triple H that Kairi Sane not only is the winner of the Mae Young Classic, but she will be fighting for the currently vacant championship of NXT. I'm speaking in backwards tones, obviously. She will be fighting for the vacant NXT Women's Championship. There we go. It's not that hard. In November at TakeOver Houston, I believe. It's the TakeOver before Survivor Series. So, I'm going to take this directly from WWE.com. Kairi Sane made history by winning the inaugural Mae Young Classic in a dramatic final showdown against Shayna Baszler, but that was just the beginning of an epic Tuesday night. As first broken by ESPN, the Mae Young Classic will challenge for the vacant NXT Women's Championship at NXT TakeOver Houston. WWE COO made the bombshell exclusively to ESPN just minutes after Sane stood tall after winning the historic 32-woman tournament. The news follows the whirlwind few weeks for NXT. The news follows a whirlwind few weeks for NXT as their women's title holder Asuka relinquished the coveted championship to pursue a new opportunity on Raw. The Empress of Tomorrow had held the title for a record 523 days, but now a new title holder will be crowned November 18th. Lost my place. With Sane slated to challenge for the title at TakeOver Houston, the question remains, who will the Pirate Princess be facing for the NXT Championship? So that's that. I like that a lot, actually. I wouldn't, because the NXT title is an already existing thing, I wouldn't have wanted it to just be handed to her. Let's be real, she's going to win it. Because you're not going to put this whole entire thing together and then give her a title shot out of it and then not give her the title. That's just not going to happen. But it is pretty cool because it just doesn't mean that she took a big-ass trophy that's taller than her and went home. Now, next 2 stories I'm going to give you guys. I'm hoping they're going to be really, really quick. I'm sorry that my computer's doing that and that I don't have a light anymore. I'm going to try and fix that right now. Is that any better? No, it's really not, is it? Sorry, guys. I'm doing this on the fly. Aaron Rift of No DQ reported that the original plan for the Mae Young Classic final match was for Kairi Sane to face Toni Storm instead of Shayna Baszler, which is something I would have liked to see because I don't care what you say. I really don't. Kairi Sane versus Toni Storm was Kairi Sane versus Toni Storm was the best match of the tournament, followed quickly by Kairi Sane versus Dakota Kai and Toni Storm versus Piper Niven. Where people are getting this hard-on for Bianca Belair and saying that her her and Kairi Sane's match was the best match of the whole tournament, you're just wrong. You're just wrong. And I think I know why some of you think you have to say it, and that's kind of pathetic. Moving on. They then decided to have Baszler in the final match to buff up the angle between WWE and MMA's two four horsewomen factions. As it turns out, the WWE recently made the decision to do the angle at a later date. There was also talk of the final match being for the vacant NXT Women's title, but WWE decided to save that title match for Survivor Series weekend instead. Sane is expected to either face Ember Moon or be part of a multi-person match at NXT TakeOver Houston on November 18th. So they were going to include Toni Storm, but they didn't because they want to push this horsewoman angle, which is kind of a bummer. It really is, because I would have liked to see Toni Storm and Kairi Sane in the finals, but we did get to see them. They did still have a great match, and that's fine. That's whatever. But the match could have also been for the vacant NXT Championship, which would have been odd because the Mae Young Classic, I mean, it was held in the NXT arena, don't get me wrong, and it was in front of mostly NXT fans and dignitaries that were there for the event. But it wasn't an NXT event, so to have the title handed over right then and there and not at an NXT event would have been a bit awkward, and it would have said to the entire current NXT women's roster, hey, fuck yourself. Two not yet NXT women are fighting for your title while you sit in the back. I'm glad they didn't do that. I'm glad that she's going to step into NXT for her NXT Women's Championship opportunity. Now, that is where Kairi Sane goes after the Women's Classic. Now, where do all the other competitors go? Regarding the futures of the Mae Young Classic competitors, here are some updates from Dave Meltzer of the F4WOnline.com website. These are all speculations, so obviously, as the cliche goes, take them with a grain of salt. The following talents have been signed in one way or another to WWE contracts. Kairi Sane, obviously. Vanessa Bourne, Zeta, Sarah Logan, you guys know I love Sarah Logan. I'm really surprised to hear that she wasn't already under contract to NXT, because she's done enough there that she's made an impression, at least on me and on a couple of other people I've spoken to. Xia Li, Rhea Ripley, great. Abby Laith, great. Kavita Devi was trained by the great Khali, and it shows. Dakota Kai, fucking awesome. Bianca Belair, fuck off. Sage Beckett, fuck off. Lacey Evans is another one that I thought was already under contact with NXT, but great to hear that she's been solidified, I guess. Tainara Conte and Reina Gonzalez. Shayna Baszler's signing hasn't been confirmed, but she is not being advertised for any future indie shows. If they're going to be doing the Four Horsewomen versus the Four Horsemen women, she's at least got a temporary contract, as I'm sure will Ronda Rousey and Jessamine Duke and the other one that's married to Roderick Strong, whose name I currently can't remember. The belief is that WWE is also interested in Piper Niven because they flew her to Vegas from Japan on their dime to be there for the finals, which is great. Piper Niven is different and does a lot of things that somebody her size shouldn't be able to do. I was wicked impressed by her in the tournament. I would love for her to actually go to the main roster. I don't know why, but I'm thinking she's one of those people that could just skip NXT as far as I'm concerned. Candice LeRae was also in the finals, and the belief is she has a very good chance of being signed. She's Mrs. Johnny Gargano, so yeah. Toni Storm, who would have been one of my #1 picks, hasn't officially signed, but it is expected that she will get an offer and that her age of only 21 will only increase her chances. If WWE does not roll out the red carpet to pick up Toni Storm, they are fucking idiots. Tessa Blanchard wasn't in the finals and hasn't been signed into anything yet, despite her abilities and her family name. While the remaining women could still be signed, their chances are far less likely as they have not been involved in anything since. Really a mixed bag. I mean, honestly, for me, if you ask me who to sign out of this tournament, Kairi Sane, Sarah Logan, Rhea Ripley, Abby Laith, Dakota Kai, Shayna Baszler, Piper Niven, Candice LeRae, Toni Storm, and you're off to the races. That's almost half the tournament right there. The rest of them, fucking Kavita Devi, fuck off. Anyways, that's a whole lot crammed into one video. I've been Spaz, your YWC Reality Check. Subscribe up there, talk down there, start a conversation, keep all these conversations going. Don't be a stranger. I'll talk to each and every last one of you later. But for right now, I'm tagging out. Bye.